Students in Belpre got the opportunity to learn about their mental health during a workshop. Our Peyton Brooker has more with the people who helped organize it.
The Belpre High School Student Council Thursday held a mental health workshop called Mind Your Mind. This workshop came to fruition after senior Haley Hatcher submitted a grant to the Joe Burrow Foundation.
Mr. White, my advisor, sent me an email about the Joe Burrow Foundation grant, and I wrote it, I applied for it, and we got it, and then we ended up partnering with the Ohio Association of Student Leaders to get this whole workshop started.
The workshop invited around 100 students to learn about different things on mental health by Executive Director of the Ohio Association of Student Leaders, Connie Miley. Teacher Robin White says the students were able to learn about different mental health ideas during the session.
She's leading the kids through a variety of workshops and exercises with this, helping them look at their values, look at different things. It's very interactive, and so the kids are up and moving and exploring things and just really finding ways to make their own mental health the best it can be.
Molly started the session by walking through the basics of maintaining your mental health.
We just started the day talking about this is what makes up my mental health. We focused on some self-awareness pieces, their values, their strengths, things that they know they're good at, and then we just finished a good part of the day focused on resilience. And I told them I feel like that's at the core of good mental health, is just that ability to bounce back.
The students at Belpre High School shared what they took away from the workshop.
Because later on in life, things may happen or you'll have challenges to go through, and it's important that you can bounce back or just be able to get over them.
Yeah, I would pretty much say the same thing, that these obstacles will happen so many times in our lives, and us learning about this while we're younger will definitely make it so much easier in the future.
And just kind of focusing on how mental health matters and it's important, and kind of breaking that stigma, and also just making sure it's okay to realize your strengths. You know what I mean? You don't always have to be so humble. Mm-hmm. Know your strengths and shout them at the rooftops. You know.
Yeah. It's good to know what you're good at and what you're comfortable doing, and that's why I think it's important to recognize strengths with yourself and others, so that way you know how to work well with others.
According to Miley, this is her first time doing a workshop on mental health.
So much of their ability to move through all of things that life presents itself are going to come back to the ideas that we're talking about today. And like I said, this is my first workshop based solely on mental health, so I can't consider myself a trained expert, a therapist, a licensed counselor, but I do consider myself one who has lived life and has learned a lot of lessons through life that help me to share those messages. And again, coming back to resilience, the ability to bounce back. Everybody needs to develop that skill.
This is Peyton Brooker in Belpre, WTAP News. This is home.
Still ahead, most health